Today I fucked up by joking about being adopted. Back in 18 my wife and I bought and took our ancestry DNA tests. Nothing odd came to light other than my Irish heritage wasn't as big as I had expected. My father, who passed away in 17, claimed his parents came over from Ireland and that he was 100%. Flash forward to 2 nights ago, my wife and I were sitting at dinner going through marriage, naturalizations, and other documents of my grandparents when I made an off-the-cuff joke. I don't look like my dad. Maybe I'm adopted. 2 days later my family is together for my niece's high school play when I was trying to get my mom and her mom to take a DNA test and my wife mentioned my joke about being adopted. Later my mom asked to see me. Hysterical, she confessed that my father was not my biological father and he was always afraid to tell me for fear that I would love him less. Even in his deathbed he made her promise not to tell me. Apparently the sperm donor was a guy my mom dated for a few months. She got pregnant and he offered her money for an abortion, then ran. My father came into the picture when I was 5 months old. Too long did not read. Joked about being adopted, discovered my dad's not my dad. Edit. I'm 35 and apparently the last person in my family, close family friends to know. Everyone hid this for 35 years. Nothing changes the way I feel towards my parents. The only thing I wish is that I had the opportunity to let my dad know that I loved him so much, and blood doesn't make you family. I hate that he had to die with the fear that I would love him less. To be clear, your dad was your dad. Far more so than your biological father who wanted you dead and ran when your mother wouldn't kill you. Sure, there are lessons to be learned, but none of them diminish the worth of your dad. Any idiot can father a child, but it takes a real man to be a dad, especially to a child not his own. The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. The people you choose are closer to you than those you are born with. My parents have a friend who has had loads of heart-related health problems since his 50s. But his mum kept saying it was a fluke and she lived well into her 90s, and his dad had also hit his 80s, so why wouldn't he be healthy? When his mum died, he was about 70, his older siblings decided to tell him the truth. His dad had come back from WW2 with him as a baby, claiming he was his. And they'd just kept him. So his mum 100% wasn't his mother, and his dad, well, who knows? He could have picked him up from any bomb site anywhere in Europe. Moral of the story: parents can lie and get your genetic health history. One love, yo. My mother raised me from 3 months old. I have always called her Mom, knowing that your father knew you loved and trusted him. Stay strong. Today I fucked up by potentially finding out my girl is cheating on me. To preface, this is on a burner account because literally all of my friends look at my main and I am too scared, embarrassed to tell them. I don't know what to do. So to start off, around early mid-January I have been talking to this girl to the point where she has met my family multiple times, and literally this past week we have talked about making it official. The entire time it seems like she has been honest about past lovers, etc. with me, but we both claimed to be exclusive to one another, and I really appreciated how she operated like that, as I 100% do too. So everything overall has been fairly good. I mean, she has a bit of a short fuse, but I grew up around that my whole life, so I have more than enough patience for it, and unlike the people I grew up around, she is really good at getting space and coming back and apologizing just minutes later. I have now convinced myself she is cheating on me, breaking the exclusivity agreement, and I am writing this like 30 minutes before work, but I can barely stand or think and I feel like I am going to vomit. A couple of days ago now, St. Patrick's Day, we had been under the impression that she would have been leaving for vacation with some friends and I would be working. She had invited me, but I just got back from vacation not even 2 weeks prior, so I couldn't. So she ended up cancelling just to save more money and to actually be able to enjoy her street Paddy's Day, and I legit walked into work and they asked if I wanted the day off, so OFC I said yes. I let her know and she just asks me if I am going to be staying home or whatever and not going out, so I replied something like, "Oh, I am down for whatever, if anyone has plans I can join," or something like that, and she just kinda says, "Haha, okay." And I end up just kinda sitting at home for a couple of hours while she gets ready and goes to the bar. A friend from high school hits me up and asks me if I would go to a bar down the street from the other bar, and I agree, and I text her where I am at, and if she wanted to come she's invited, if not I'll prob be at her bar in a few hours. Everything is normal, she replies like usual, and I have like a drink and 4 shots in the 3-ish hours I am there and let her know I am headed to her bar. The line was an hour and 20 minutes, and usually she would have me snuck in because we know all the people who work there, but for some reason, Assume just she couldn't or something, she didn't and just would tell me, "Oh, I am sorry, that sucks, sad face. How much longer?" But again, I was fine waiting in the cold. It sucked, but I caught up with my friend and joked with other people in the line. Right before I get in, she texts me, "Are you in yet?" And I don't see it cause I am just trying to rush in and find her, and I run to the side of the bar that everyone usually is, and I see her turned away with her friend and a small group of people. I get really happy and start to walk up to her when this guy our age grabs her arm and pulls her to the dance floor just feet away, and just I don't know, the way she accepts it and looked at him was just such a horrible feeling. I immediately sprint up and grab her arm and say, "Hey?" And the dude snaps and looks at me and her eyes shoot open and she sprints away, and I try following her but she runs to the restroom. I just use the restroom myself, and as I am doing that I text her. Deleting my messages over and over, I finally end with, "So is that why you wanted to know?" referring to the "Are you in yet?" text. I go back out and she is sitting down with her friend, who we will call Jane. I try to ignore it and have a conversation with her. Ask her how her day is going, and she's just kinda drunk, high, and at a certain point I just politely ask like, "Hey, who was that guy BTW?" And she's like, "I don't know." And then I say, "You don't know the guy who grabbed you and brought you to the dance floor?" And she gets like annoyed and says, "No, I don't know." So I just say okay and try to continue the night on a good note. After a while it starts to eat at me again, and I ask Jane who the guy was and explained what I saw and why it bugged me, and I just didn't want to be hurt or worry if it was for no reason, and she just kinda told me she had no idea what I was talking about but hoped everything was okay. So that kinda helped me, and I just chose to try to believe her even though she was there when my girl got grabbed. It's probably around 12 at this point, and I'm trying to defuse a fight that is about to happen with her other friend's boyfriend and some random dude. It goes okay and it seems to stop, and I calm him, and my girl asks me for water, so I go to the bar and get her some, and she chugs it, so I get her more, and as I am coming back I see someone whisper in her ear and walk off. Same color hoodie as the previous dude, as that is about the only thing I took in because I was so focused on her face earlier. So I walk up confused, and she just has this oblivious and expressionless look on her face looking back at me, and I give her the water and she smiles and says thank you. After a couple min of sitting next to her, she pulls her phone out and opens Snapchat. I am not a nosy person, and she has assumed that I've looked at her phone in the past while she was reading messages and got angry at me for it, but I thought she wanted to take a picture, so I kinda lean back and behind her and look at the camera, and she instead swipes to the left and I see a snap from someone named Jack, fake name. I do a lil oop and look away, but my mind immediately thinks of the gray sweater kid, so I turn back out of curiosity, but she had quickly read and closed it, then turned off her phone. She leaves about 10 minutes later to take her friend Jane home and texts me when she gets there, and I, somehow still at this point, check her location to make sure she's safe and not driving anymore, and she is fine and there, so I text her good night, etc., and she's very normal and loving about it. At the end of the night I ask her other best friend, we will call her Jill, I have a thing going on about it, and just say, "Look, I've been cheated on this exact way in the past and I am normally completely fine. I would just like to know more about the situation, and she just isn't telling me anything." And she hits me with basically the same thing Jane did, but with a, "I am so sorry, though I would be worried too if I were in the exact same situation, so I get it, but I didn't see anything." And I just kinda sadly nod and let her know I am going home and hug all my friends goodbye. The following day, yesterday, I just tried to ignore it even though I had terrible dreams and couldn't really get it out of my head. I was super nice and positive to her and she was back, but it kinda seemed off, and I asked when she'd come over and she said, "Soon," but like implying not today soon. I again just continued and tried to keep it out of my head, but I couldn't, and the last conversation I had at the end of the day before I got out of work was, "Hey, I'll talk to you later," and she said, "Okay, bye." So by the time I get out I just had to talk to her and ask her about it for reassurance, so I could just address it and move on, because she seemed like she was super trustworthy, but just the situation seemed off. I get out of work and text her, "Hey," to no response. I clean off my car and let it heat up and still no response. I check her location and she's at this random house that is far away from all of her friends' houses and her place, so I am just confused. It hits me and I am like, oh no, I just need to get home. But on the way home I look at the street again and I am like, okay, I hate myself, but I need to stop by the house and just see like if any of our friends' cars are there, cause I doubt I'll get anything else out of it. I pull up and see her car covered in snow, meaning she's been there for a min, and there's someone else's car who I don't recognize parked behind her, and the room light is on but every other light is off. I park down the street a little and just try to breathe for a min before I go home, and as I turn around and drive past again, the light is turned off and I get back onto the main road and try to call her. No response. I legitimately have never gotten just denied a call like she let it ring. The worst is she said no and texted me, "Hey, I am busy," or something cause she's at her friend's. So I text her, "Is everything okay?" and she doesn't respond. At this point I had literally worked myself up to the point where I needed to talk to her, and this is happening, so I just drive home and sit in my basement and try to just calm myself down and think about every possible way this couldn't be bad and how crazy I probably am, and I am like, hey, maybe she was just tired and I didn't see a third car or something and I already feel bad for even driving out there, so I should just drop it. So I check her location and she drove down the street for food and then after a while back to the same house, and then my mind was like, okay, so she might have me muted. I know she's awake. Why did she turn the lights off if she was awake? Etc. And I just go to sleep and I can't, and I am struggling so bad, so at 2 a.m. I send her basically everything I wanted to talk about and talked about her location, etc. and was just like, hey look, regardless of what answer you give me I have complete trust, I just need answers, honesty, and reassurance. It has been 12 hours since and she hasn't texted me and I feel like I fucked up and ruined everything, but it also makes me think I just caught her and it just sucks so bad because I wanted to help her cause she was in a shitty spot and just IDK I feel like I genuinely want to die. I now have to leave for work, but like what should I do? Am I crazy? I don't know how I am gonna get through today. I can barely stand, but it's too late to call in. Too long did not read. Saw her with another guy. Didn't like how she looked at him, and when she saw me she ran off. Next day she's at someone random's house and won't answer texts or calls, which is absolutely not normal. I sent a long text and she's ghosting me now. Sorry mate. This relationship isn't making you feel good. Even if she hasn't cheated, you don't feel confident in your relationship with her. I wouldn't call or message until she does, because she might not. Her friends are being just as avoidant as she is. Be like Frozen and let it go. Big internet hugs. It's only been 2 months and it's already going to hell. You have nothing invested in this, and there's nothing here to make the drama worth it. You know exactly what's going on. Walk away and don't look back. So you have previous trust issues, you spy on her location because you ultimately don't trust her, she is throwing red flags all over the place, and you're still hung up on her? Dude. Let her go. Be at peace. Life is too short. Ever since the bar where you saw her with that dude, you have been texting her and she barely has been responding, from what I understand. It's over, man. Also, stop lying to yourself. Hey look, regardless of what answer you give me I have complete trust, I just need answers, honesty, and reassurance. You know damn well that's not true. Stop reaching out to her, wait for her to do it. If she doesn't and also doesn't take this opportunity to explain what is going on, just move on. I'm not reading all that. You've been together for less than 3 months. Just move on. Today I fucked up by looking at paperwork about my mom that my dad told me not to. My 34 male dad, 70, was recently diagnosed with some pretty serious medical issues, and me and my brother had to put him into an assisted living facility for the foreseeable future. Also, we've been working on getting one of my brother's power of attorney for my dad in case something happens. As part of this whole process, the social worker that was helping us told us it would be easier in the long run to get a copy of my mom's death certificate. She died of cancer and a resulting coma when I was 11, and it's something that I really didn't come to terms with until my mid-20s. Getting this certificate was delegated to me, so I ask my dad if he has a copy at his house. He tells me, there's one in the filing cabinet in the basement, but don't look through the black envelope. I tell fine whatever. At his point, I'm just glad I don't have to go to City Hall or something to get a copy. So I drive out to my dad's and go down into the basement and pretty quickly find the certificate, but I also see the black envelope, and I guess you can see where this is going. Like some poor soul in a H.P. Lovecraft story, I decided to stare into what would unknowingly be my own personal abyss. I dumped its contents out to find insurance paperwork from when my mom passed. More specifically, how they were denying the life insurance claim due to overwhelming evidence that the coma that ultimately led to the end of her life was a result of an intentional overdose of painkillers. That's how I found out after 23 years that my mom killed herself. I just sat on the concrete floor of that basement for hours, just broken. I'd give anything to not know this. It's been over a month and I can't stop having nightmares about it. Going to have to start therapy again. All because I got curious and didn't listen to my dad. Too long did not read. Was told not to look at some paperwork about my mom that I thought died of cancer 23 years ago only to find out she killed herself. She did die of cancer. If not for the cancer she wouldn't have done what she did. I hope you can take solace in the fact that in a no-win situation she at least wanted to go out on her own terms, and part of that may have been to try and spare you watching cancer run its insatiable and inevitable course. Good luck coming to grips with this information, and I hope you can understand, forgive, and move forward. I've seen someone rot away from cancer. It is not the way people want to go out. I would rather take a bunch of pills after saying goodbyes and got out peacefully than be eaten by that shit. I'm truly sorry for your loss. At least know she went on her terms and not some unbearable slow painful decay. Hang in there op. Try to look at it this way. She was dying anyway. She was in pain. She was so far gone that the coma looked like a normal step on her journey. She chose when she got to go. That's actually kind of amazing. Losing her must have been horrible. Let this be a small light in that whole, dark episode. Not my business, but I'd be cool with that. Dying of cancer is horrible from what I understand. I'd be glad she didn't have to go through that. Must have had only pain left. If I had known that she suffered for months, just so a life insurance policy paid out, and I was driving a nice car now because of it, I might not want that car anymore. Pretty crappy that life insurance can refuse to pay out because of suicide. It's not like the surviving family members had something to do with it. That definitely needs to change. Today I fucked up by opening my water bottle at work. My workplace recently introduced a rule that we can't bring cans of drink in because of risk of improvised weapons, so I was like, okay yay cool Monster Energy in a water bottle whatever. I didn't realize what a bad idea that was until after this had happened. Wanting to save time between getting into work and getting into handover, I pour the can of Monster into my water bottle before I leave the house. Ride my bike to work. This is where the fuck up occurred, unbeknownst to me until it was far too late. Stepping into the may I highlight this as important newly painted office. I flip up the straw on my water bottle. And it explodes upwards in a fucking violent arc. All over the white wall. Bright pink Monster. All over the desk and the floor. I was lucky to escape unsoaked honestly. Now every time I go into the office I can see the fucking eruption stain right up to the ceiling of the office. I can't take a picture due to safeguarding issues, but read assured this is haunting me. Too long did not read. Pressurized bottle, bike, carbonated drink and white walls do not mix. Edit I work in a mental hospital for context. Laughing my ass off I made this mistake as well, except that it was just seltzer water. But I put it in my water bottle with a pop-up straw, and then tried to take a drink as I was driving in my car. Cold sweat smile. My wife did this with water when we flew one time. Had a water bottle she filled up after security checkpoint. Get on the plane and up in the air. Halfway through the flight she gets thirsty so grabs the bottle and pops up the straw. Water promptly soaks her and the guy sitting next to her. Both were too stunned to move till the bottle was empty. Fortunately the guy was a great sport about it and we laughed about it walking through the airport. Where do you work that an improvised weapon made from a soda can is an actual threat? In the words of Red Foreman, dumbass. My mom had recently redone the kitchen in her house. My mom and her current husband don't drink. They went to evening mass I think which left my sister and I alone during the holidays and we wanted to have some wine. We couldn't find a wine key, so in my infinite wisdom I decided to just push the cork into the bottle. I pushed too hard and the dark red wine splashed everywhere on the cabinets, the appliances, and floor. We cleaned things down quickly and thought we were in the clear, but then we saw the spray on the ceiling. We broke out the magic eraser though this took off some of the off-white paint. We never told her until this past Christmas. Her quote, "I always wondered how those spots showed up out of nowhere.